everybody here has somebody in government. Oh. Because if your cousin is a DPO, the police is government. Oh. If your brother is a lawyer and he works with the chief judge, he's a government. Government is not just Asuu Rock, Abuja, and one man. I think that's the error most Nigerians make. We are all in government in small and big ways. Yes, because your local government also, you should be responsible for what's going on there. You should be careful of. So what I'm trying to say is that general taxation, I'm not saying it should be high. I think that's where we should get it clear.
Pay.
Yes, at the same time, I'm saying even subsidies should go, but it shouldn't go totally. What's wrong with 50% subsidy? Why must it be black or white? We can start by removing 50%, and at the end of the year, that's next year. You see what I'm saying? There are various ways that we always do things here as if everything is rigid or God-given. No, it's our laws that are man-made. We can decide by the end of next year to remove only 50% of subsidies, based on the fact that Nigerians contribute at least 1,000 naira tax. You will see that the government will have enough money. And then the question, yes, and then the question will now be your question, guys. What are you doing with our money?
Okay.
It is because we are not contributing that we're not asking that question. To be honest,
if that's the case, the tax cuts would have to, be put on hold regardless of CSRs and all of that. And I'm saying that because some big corporations we know quite well do not pay their fair share of taxes.
True.
In terms of the 1% of the 1%. So that would also mean that everyone chips in, and that would be on the basis of the strength of
Do you know the power the foreign countries have over us? Countries like Germany and France, they use taxation as a way of incentive. Because everybody pays 30% tax, they will now tell you, if you help these 5 children to university, pay 25. Are you seeing the incentive? First, let's get it right. Then you can now do incentives. You will now tell Dangote, because of your 3 billion tax you're paying, pay half, but do that road. But initially, it was supposed to pay 3 billion. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have tax credits already.
Yes, but let all of us get it. Let all of us get it. I'm sure if you call your father now or call your mother, you will see that they all trained somebody that you didn't know. They all took somebody to that generation of the 80s and the 90s, and all trained somebody that was not there. Nobody's doing that anymore. So that is collectivity. We must first get the principle of collectively participating. It will now allow you to tell your senator, Oga, they say you just bought 3 cars. Is it my tax you are using? You only have that right because you are paying. As long as you're not paying, what they are using to buy those cars is oil money. It's not your money. Crude oil money is not your money. As much as Nigerians don't like to hear that, it is not your money. You don't know anything about it. Do you know how much crude oil Nigeria is making? You don't know. But if you were paying 5,000 naira tax, you want to know where it's going. You get what I'm saying? And then you will be more efficient. So one has to be done before the other. We must all contribute first before we start asking questions. What we do often here is say, but they will now use the tax and do something. But you're asking the question that you're not paying NEPA bill, and you're asking that you want more light. Okay. How does that work?
Let's bring this back home, talking about, education, the tertiary institution.
Okay.
Yes, the focus is on ASU and the federal government in PASA at this time, but we've had, other tertiary institutions, we've had polytechnics also going on strike, colleges of education. Even this year, during the 8-month strike for ASU, you also had that. What exactly is wrong with the federal government, not only, adhering to agreements of time past, but in terms of funding, if the federal government, which brings us back to the issue of universities or polytechnics being autonomous, if the federal government can't fund these, tertiary institutions, and they know they can't keep to their side of the agreement, shouldn't they just let the universities run themselves like we see in other climes? Yes,
they should. And that is probably where we're going to. You're right. I think you've even advanced what's going to happen. It's obvious that subsequent governments, including the ones, there are 3 major candidates.
Yes.
And all 3 of them are definitely going to go that line. Because as we go forward, government will have less and less resources. That's one thing that we must confirm. Government will have, less and we are even lucky. Oil is a bit high now because of this Ukraine war. If there was no war, oil would be at $45 or $50. It's still not enough for Nigeria. We will still borrow. You get what I'm saying?
Even the 90,
yes.
over 90,
so we are borrowing now. We are borrowing now because we don't have a refinery. If we had a refinery, we won't be borrowing. But that's by the way. To answer your question precisely, every subsequent government in Nigeria from today would have to go for autonomy of universities. Don't forget, when these people build all these universities, both state and federal universities, the roads that lead to them are federal.
Exactly.
People don't understand. The amount of money we are chunking in that is not reaching the student, because at the end of the day, you are talking about the student, right? It's not reaching the student, but has been spent. I had the privilege of meeting the Minister of Works, the Honorable Minister of Works, and he explained that people don't know that the road leading into the University of Lagos is actually a federal road, and it has to be maintained by the Federal Minister of Works, not the Minister of Education.
Even within the
you see the nuance. So there is a lot more to do and a lot less resources. Look, if we don't get taxation right in this country, no president will solve the problems of this country.
Now,
we have to get that right.
Now, that those who tell you that if universities or tertiary institutions basically decide to be autonomous and generate funds for themselves, there will definitely be an increase in tuition fees and all of that.
Definitely, yes.
That the average person, the average Nigerian can't even afford it.
Yes.
You'll be shocked that as much as the prices are subsidized at this time,
At this moment, yes.
you still have folks who are, indigent who can't afford it.
True.
So if universities decide to, if the federal government decides
to
universities,
leave them free,
be autonomous, and they decide to increase fare, how will the average Nigerian meet up with those demands? Especially when you look at the cost of living and the standard of living, minimum wage is still, what it is. It's not even a living wage and all of that. That the average Nigerian won't be able to
access education. That is why I said it's a vicious cycle. Remember, I said the education I'm concerned about is the basic education, so primary and secondary. First thing. So already you should have filtered 50% of those who want to go to school, because everybody will not go to university. Like I said, that's the first thing. That must be clear. The objective cannot be to have 100% people who want to go to university.
What about those who are interested but do not have
I'm coming to that. Life is also about choices. We cannot say Nigeria is not a brilliant country. We're not the US or China. So let's do it in our resources. I first said 50% will have to drop because they will have to do other things. We have technicians who don't have to go to University of Lagos. They're technical schools. IT people don't have to go to university. And I hope you get it. I hope you are understanding what we're saying. We're just saying university. But you can go to banking, this thing. You can go and learn. You know what I'm doing. There's secretariat.
But there's this status thing with, going to the university. And it feels like those are the jobs, the understanding, or to a very large extent, some persons feel it's when you go to school that you have white-collar jobs.
Thank you.
You have
white-collar jobs are ending. How many people go to offices in Lagos? They're ending. In the villages, how many people go to? So let's work within the Nigerian premise. Like you were saying, let me finish on that. Already you have filtered some people. The next thing that happens is that it now comes back to what I was saying. If the government has a pool of funds, and it can be federal or state government, they can now give buses, study buses, to those who are very good but don't have the means. Everybody should not go to university. But if you're already very educated, you're very brilliant, and you don't have the means, your state, and they used to do it before, can now give you a bus to go to university. That is what it should be. It shouldn't be that everybody should go to university. It should be that exceptional people who don't have the means can go. Then if your parents have the means, you can go. But if we are all paying taxes, it will be easier for your state to say the 1,000 students from your state, it's an example, who are brilliant but don't have the means, will be sponsored by the state government.
Scholarships.
Because that is collective. That's that collective I'm telling you. It will cost us less if all of us are chipping in.
Although another thing again will be some state governments are even owing when it comes to meeting up with their scholarship responsibilities. We've had several states in time past. You have students, Nigerians abroad, abandoned. Abandoned.
Institutes, even Nigerian institutes.
Exactly. You hear things like 200 Nigerian students in Cyprus University
in Sri Lanka,
being held back because maybe a state government. Rivers State was once in the news for that as well during the Amici governorship. So again, that would also bring about how do these state governments then meet up with those demands if they can't do that now?
No, they can't do that now because we don't have the resources now. Look, we went through our famous 7 years of famine. Nigerians didn't realize it. Look, when this administration came in, go and check it. Petrol was selling at $35. But just to give you an idea, during Obasanjo's time on average was selling at $100. You can't compare the both. It's 3 times more. During COVID, we had vessels that were going around the world that nobody wanted. At $25. $25 is not enough money to bring the petrol out from the ground. That is, you've not covered your cost. We must realize we went through the most difficult times. We went through recession, COVID, and Ukrainian war. And look, all this in the same life of this government. So people should realize these are the worst times in the economy of Nigeria. Not necessarily because of just government, because in the world, have you seen the UK inflation rate? Because in the world it's terrible. But that's the problem. We were told then that when we had the money, we should have organized for the lean years. We didn't. We lavished it. Nigerians are buying houses in London. Don't you remember? Nigerians were doing lavish parties, spraying money. I remember now, late 90s and early 2000s. We spent all the money we had. We didn't build not one single micro refinery, not one single health center. Every local government in this country should have a basic health center. Every local government in this country should, with the kind of money we had, and I say we should have that. So you are right. We were not able to pay some of these things because we went through a lean period, but it will not be forever. I am optimistic that Nigeria will get better. Why am I saying that? Because we have the resources, we have the manpower. We definitely need the better governance, there's no doubt, but we also need good followership. So people not wasting time asking if Shettima is a Muslim, but asking what can Shettima bring in this context of what I've said. Ask your presidential candidate, your gubernatorial candidate, what are the 5 things he wants to do? Not 10, because he won't do them. What are the 5 things you really... No, think about it first, then ask him on Twitter or whatever. Shettima, what are the 5 things you will do if you get in as vice president? 5 things. Let him just tell you. Don't ask him for 10. Nobody can do that. And then remove insecurity from it, because insecurity is going to be like infrastructure in Nigeria. We would be managed. Yes, it's a continuous thing. That's why people are disappointed with this government. They are thinking at one stage, kidnapping will just end. But how is kidnapping going to end?
No.
So anytime you hear one kidnapping in Kano, you say, they've started again. No, we are going to live with insecurity. We will just have to manage it. We will have to live with insecurity. It's like malaria. Every time you get sick, then you just say, I've gone back to malaria. No, malaria is there already. It was waiting for you. So let's manage these things and let's solve the problem that is leading to insecurity, which are mostly socioeconomic. Like you said, if the brilliant boy wants to go to university, how is he going to fund it? But then, I'm not saying we should leave the boy who is not brilliant. He should probably go to a technical school, should probably go to an IT school, should probably learn to be artisan. We are going to have problem having capitals in the future. We already have problem now.
There's even a brain drain in
So why are we not doing that? Nurses. Do you think we have nurses enough? So why not? Everybody cannot go to... We need teachers. Teachers have a teaching school where they go to learn. We need people to work in the broadcasting service.
Yes.
You don't have to actually go to university for that, because there are technical schools where you can learn the technical...
But for a good number of jobs in Nigeria, the requirement is...
That is why we have to change the mind. It's about us. We have to change the mindset. And also, I will add to that, you cannot go around saying your daughter must marry a lawyer. That also is a problem. Yes, of course. Of course, you know that happens a lot. So it's a mindset thing. But we need a leader who will carry us along and say, guys, don't focus. I'll tell you just very briefly. In Germany, what they do, the German system, it's also regional. So it's region by region. I'll tell you about the Munich region. What they do is that when you finish your high school, they give you like a year to go and find out what you want to do. Some people go into language, some people travel out of the country, with the Schengen system, and they go and learn something. Germans I'm talking about. Then you come back. When you come back, often you realize what you want to do is work in the automobile sector. They have a technical school where you go, and then where the car companies come and pick you up to work in BMW, in Mercedes and all that. In the factory, but the factories are, of course, digitalized. It's no more like before when you have these big machines. It's computerized. So the guy that has finished secondary school does not even see the walls of the university, goes to a technical school, learns how to work on cars, goes back to the BMW factory, and is paid 3,000 euros a month.
How do we even get that here in Nigeria?
I'm just giving you an example. We won't be Germany because we're not Germany. But there are several things we can do in the sense that everybody does not have to have a BSc or a BA. It cannot work. We need people in agriculture. We need people in logistics. We need, maritime. It's not all about. We need people in armed forces. We need people in the police. So there are several things we should be projecting, and not just university. I think it's well overrated in Nigeria. What we should concentrate on is secondary and primary schools. That means every Nigerian should have a right to secondary school, which means even if you go into ShopRite, the person selling to you should be able to communicate with you. That is what you want. Even the conductor should be able to communicate with you. That's what you want. You don't need lawyers everywhere.
Okay.
All right.
In wrapping up, in wrapping up the conversation, then, since we should focus on the primary and secondary in terms of the basics.
Yes.
Will you tilt towards the left in terms of free Western education, in terms of socialism? Do you think that should be the way, or that should also be paid for? It
would have been ideal, but we cannot really do it. But like I said, it's not black and white. We can do a bit of it.
A bit of it.
I mean, education for me should be subsidized at 70%. Instead of subsidizing petroleum. Yes, that basic. When I talk education, I always speak permanence. Yes, I don't. University education should be almost a luxury. It's not given. Why? Even in France, everybody does not go to university. So why in Nigeria should everybody go to university? But everybody has a right to primary and secondary, because that is the basic. Even you working in the farm, you should be able to use your computer and use your telephone. So I would say, let states and federal, we are running a federal system. So what happens in federal should also happen in the state. Yes. Let two of them subsidize education at that level. And let's remove a bit of that money from oil. You see what I'm saying? Let's remove.
Talking about oil, the government plans to get that off. That's the subsidy by mid-2023.
The government plans to give the poison to the next government. Yes, they won't be there now. You know they won't be there.
But you know, in Kenya, Ruto, immediately he came in, what he did was to remove the fuel subsidy. So we're probably looking forward to, these guys coming in and doing this.
It is easier to do in Kenya. First, they are fewer and they don't depend so much on oil as we do. We in Nigeria, look, if oil is expensive, your generator will not work. That's how bad it is. Again, we come to that collective I'm saying. If we are all paying, energy will be cheaper. Do you remember, do you know there's a period in Lagos when there was enough light? Just recently, there was, do you understand that you didn't go to fuel stations to buy, so all of a sudden, even diesel was 1,000, you didn't care because you didn't go to buy much. That's what I'm saying. Once we increase our energy, you won't be so attached to oil because you will be using it only for your car. The problem in Nigeria is that we use it for cooking, we use it for generator, we use it for car. So once it goes by 10 naira, it affects the whole system. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be because we should have enough energy. You should have 18 hours light a day. You will see that you won't bother for the 6 hours left. Are you getting what I'm saying? It is a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So we need a president with his cabinet and his governors that get it right. Lead Nigeria to the right route. Don't tell us this. Tell us those things that you will do that will make life better. Nigerians will accept that subsidies should go if we don't need it to buy diesel for our generator.
So we need to get to that point where we don't need it first?
Exactly.
Is that your point?
Exactly, yes, because if they are going to remove subsidies in the middle of next year, is that they are counting on Dangote.
But exactly.
That's the first thing. They are counting on Dangote, which is true. Yes, which is true.
Trying to work on.
But you see again, remember I said when we started this program that we are paying the errors of the past and that the errors of today will pay them in the future. Just as well as I said that, I must say the positive side. We also gained from some of the good things of the past. So institutions like EFCC and all that, and the railway that was started and finished by Buhari. And then the next government will enjoy some of the things the Buhari administration are doing. The second Niger bridge that is opening the country. It's going to open the country a lot. Yes. And then the refinery you're talking about, and the electoral bill that was passed. Elections are getting better. You feel that as well. The NNPC that is privatized, which can now invest as a company, that's going to have. So you see, the next government is going to enjoy a few things that we will remember that Buhari did them because we're already angry. But what I'm trying to say is this: we are living with consequences. There are causes and consequences. We are actually suffering the consequences and errors of the past. The errors of this government, which can be many or few, are coming.
All right. I think it is the point where we have to wrap up. So just in closing, let's have your take on, the whole Asuu federal government. What are your thoughts, your closing shot? I
think there should be a bit of peaceful intention on both sides. At the end of the day, to land at the president's office. The year is almost over. He would not want to send the Asuu people to Christmas without money. That's going to have a lot of issues. And there are already no lecture days. They're not on strike, but you see, they're smarter. No lecture days. They're actually there. Yeah. They're actually there. So they fall within the law. They are there, but they don't teach. Are you seeing how they are using that law that I told you? So they know. So the president, it will come at the president's table. He will still use a waiver. It might not be as much as they expect, but I would indulge them to accept it. So where there is 100% to give you, if you get 85, let's move on for the benefit of the children of this country. So because it's costly on everybody. So what the government is not doing here is what it's doing here. You're taking money from Peter to pay Paul. At the end of the day, it's still Nigerian. So I think it will end at the president's table and he will use the waiver just like he did last year. But we must clarify with Nigerians, if we're talking purely legally, what the government is doing is right. But you don't have to be tough to be right. You see what I'm saying? Yes. There's also a moral aspect of it where you have to make Nigerians. We're all Nigerians at the end of the day. So that's what I would say. I'm optimistic about this. It will come out.
I am also.
Yes.
What about you? All right. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing those insights on the show today.
It's a pleasure. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we've got more for you. Stay with us. It's iBrandTV.